on self-leadership. When you look at the definition of self-leadership, it's a practice of intentionally influencing your thinking, your feelings, and actions towards your objectives. So as you can see, self-leadership is a terminology that we need to imbibe into our system so that as a leader, we are able to influence others to take action so that the goals of the organization, they are met. And it also helps us as leaders to achieve personal goals for life and career. This is the main two things that you need to basically think about when we are talking about self-leadership here. And one of the things we need to remember is also about being self-aware when we talk about self-leadership. Basically, it means knowing ourselves. Why is knowing ourselves so very important? For the simple reason, I would say, for the simple reason that it is questioning us on why we wish to be a leader in the first place. And of course, the second one is through self-awareness is also getting to know our inner understanding of the role that we are playing. Like, apart from why we are a leader, do we understand what it takes to be one? How aware are we? And we also need to understand the strengths which is required for as part of the industry knowledge and skills that we need to develop, and whether it's the personal characteristics that we also need to ensure that we are aware of. What are to ensure that we are able to handle responsibilities better. And few of the key things we need to remember in mind is the honesty factor, the integrity factor that comes into the picture, and also how much of time are we investing in coaching and developing others. That is also another factor. And of course, developing and demonstrating our emotional intelligence. Because that is also going to enable us to understand not just ourselves, but understand others better too. And in order, when we are able to understand others better, we are able to handle conflicts also more effectively. And we are able to focus on the whole person. So when we are having a team member, we are delegating various responsibilities. We understand their skills, but are we focusing on the full person as such? And that is where emotional quotient comes in. So basically, it is the capacity to be aware of, control and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and emphatically. So that's something that we need to definitely keep in mind when we look at developing our self-leadership skills in an organizational workplace. Now, why is it important to enhance emotional quotient in teams by the leader? The first one would be to create necessary conditions in which team members can develop. But why? How does it develop? For the simple reason that it builds up trust amongst members. There will definitely be better trust and better understanding between members. There will be a sense of group identity. When we are cultivating leadership abilities, how does it exactly help in terms of self-awareness? The self-awareness will enable us to recognize emotions better. At the same time, enable us to maintain our cool. And that is not easy, as we all know, because some situations can be highly provocative. And the best thing you might think is just to give a good shout. But that may not necessarily help us in the situation. So being cool, maintaining our composure, effective communication. How are we able to express thoughts effectively? So if we are looking at a situation where we need to express, I would like you or all of you to just think of a situation where you had lost your cool where you had not lost your cool as well. Two instances. One is when you lost your cool. What was the feeling that you experienced? As we all know, leaders have to be respected by the team. So I think one of the 5 areas we need to focus on would be politeness and respect, and of course, willingness to change, willingness to adapt. Number 3 would be to listen. And of course, number 4 would be to avoid excuses. And number 5 would be to help each other. How effectively are we trying to help each other? And of course, it's important that we are able to identify our team's strengths and weaknesses. Just like we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, we would need to look at it from that compassionate angle when it comes to our team as well. And are we able to spark passion in our team? And of course, another thing would be, like I think I had mentioned, is about resolving conflicts, being emphatic, and allowing the team to have a voice. What's the kind of freedom that we give to the team for them to discuss with us?
Right.
Because sometimes the team may not be getting a lot of freedom, because they might think that, oh, if I tell that, what if the leader would not like it? So in many ways, even if it's something that the feedback is not something which is very, very pleasant to hear, it's a good idea still to know what they have to say. You may or may not agree. That is not the point here. So it helps when there is better transparency, and of course, encouragement of the social interaction between teams. How often is there interaction? I would definitely advise here is, who are the core people that we are directly communicating with? So in other words, when we are communicating with them, it needs to be as transparent as possible, number 1. But when it comes to probably the next circle of communication that any news needs to go, probably there needs to be, I would say, a more efficient way of communicating. So in other words, diplomacy would also be important there. So it's not that you're going to bluff to the next circle of the team, no. But there would definitely be certain filtering which will happen so that the communication does not frighten the outer team members.
Okay.
So in other words, the selection of words, the selection of communication style is very, very critical right from day 1 when a team member joins.
Very true.
So in other words, if a team member would like to speak to a supervisor, or even would like maybe address someone who is right at the top, the kind of fearlessness needs to be there so that they are able to approach. And for that, like I mentioned, you need to have in place the organization's core team, the vision and mission of what the culture of the organization is all about.
Okay.
So it's like that's the roots from which the tree will grow. It's also very important that we reach out to people, because the more we are able to discuss and even interact with people who are able to bring in some kind of insights into team management, into organizational growth, it will definitely add value. So in other words, build up your network. Denzel, we are coming back to networking here. Networking is very, very crucial to our learning and progress, because the more we are unwilling to not discuss and talk about our doubts, the less we are likely to understand and grow. So even as a leader, when you find that you are facing a situation where, oh, I don't know what I'm not sure about it. You can always tell your member, I'm not sure about it. Let me get back to you on that. And trust me, in the long run, a real team member who is able to appreciate and grow with you is not going to look down on you because of your vulnerability or your ability to admit that you do not know something. They would only appreciate the fact that you are able to be humble about it. In my case, it was not the humility factor, it was just the fear of how I would be seen. So different people have different reasons why they may not ask questions. But none of the reasons are important. So in other words, build up a good network of people around you. Make sure that you have got people that you are able to, maybe through LinkedIn even. I suppose you are on LinkedIn, right, Steve?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, great. So it's very important that you are able to also get yourself to be active, because the more active you are, the more you are likely to be getting involved in projects that you would like to be in. You would come in contact with people who are probably very similar, in the very similar line of business that you're in. And plus, there might be situations where you might not be very sure about, and you are always able to check with them. So the more we are able to reach out, the more we are able to support others also, the more we are able to grow at a personal level and professional level.